Let's get ready to rumble!
All right, guys, we're back at it to take on Jennifer Welch. She's back at it, and this time it looks like we're pinning Catholicism versus evangelicals or Protestants, and it looks like Mike Johnson said something that she didn't like, so we're gonna get into this and let's figure out what the heck what is she complaining about now with evangelicals? What is she talking about?
The first American Pope, Pope Leo. I'm not a huge fan of the Pope, but he does lead the Catholic Church. And you have the white nationalist Christians, the evangelicals, none other than Moses Mike Johnson, who honestly thinks that he is hand chosen by God, and God told him he was Moses. And he disagrees with the Pope because he is the leader of protecting and not holding accountable people that dehumanize, marginalize, and murder people and treat them so inhumanely, send them to fucking concentration camps. He rubber stamps all of that. So when asked about it,
maybe Mike Johnson disagrees with the Pope because, like you said, the Pope is the leader of the Catholic Church, and Mike Johnson would fall under the Protestant umbrella of Christianity. And if you were kind of smart, you would understand that although we are Christians and they are considered both Christians, Protestants and Catholics don't see eye to eye on doctrinal issues and in certain interpretations. So maybe that's the reason why he doesn't agree with him.
Here's his response to the Pope.
Pope Leo has cited Matthew 25:35 to critique Donald Trump's mass deportation agenda. How would you respond to Pope Leo in Scripture?
So you want me to give you a theological dissertation? All right, I'll tell you what, I'll post it on my website later today, but let me give you a quick summary. Borders and walls are biblical. From the Old Testament to the New, God has...
Why does he have to sit there? First of all, he did give us the dissertation on his website. I will say that. But, borders are biblical. It's fucking 2,000 years old. It does not apply. Not everybody believes in this document.
So she says that the Pope is in the right, and the Pope is using the 2,000-year-old book to state Matthew 25:35. But when Mike Johnson uses the same book to defend nation boundaries, border boundaries, borders that God himself established, now no one cares. Who cares? Why are you bringing up a book and stuff like that? So in one sense, it's okay when the Catholics use it or the Pope uses it to do this viewpoint, right, of Matthew 25, and I'll read it here real quick. But when an evangelical uses it, they're misquoting scripture. No one cares. Why are you bringing in a 3,000-year-old book and stuff like that? By the way, what did the Pope say? The Pope said, this is Matthew 25:35. For while I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty. You gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you took me in. I was naked and you clothed me. I was sick and you took care of me. I was in prison and you visited me. And that's the verse that they like this one, right? They like this one, but they don't want to read what the few verses before. And I'll read that, but interesting how they want to, okay when Pope uses it, not okay when Mac Johnson uses it.
To make an excuse that a religious doctrine should be part of the government, isn't that why we had the separation of church and state?
You were okay with and what do you mean by bringing a religious dogma or doctrine into the government? The United States has a border to the north, Canada, to the south, Mexico, and then the oceans, the Pacific and the Atlantic, are its borders to the east and west. Every country has a border. You don't need real religious dogma to say that nations have borders or need borders in order to be a nation. Not only that, I don't even have to do that, because all Mike Johnson seems to be doing is explaining that if you're going to deal with immigrants and you have immigration policies, that it's not contradictory to the Bible and to Christianity, because within the Bible, you have established nations that also had to deal with immigration and foreigners. And in the Old Testament and the New Testament, it doesn't obliterate the idea of nations and borders in this particular world, right? Most of them want to bring out, well, they said that Jesus, I think James Tallarico said this, right? That Paul said there's neither female nor Greek. But this is dealing also in the kingdom, not the earthly one yet, but one to come. Yet you still see the language being depicted in Revelation about every nation, every tribe will confess. You still have God explaining that there are differences within the nations, within the tribes, within the languages. So to say that, oh, Mike Johnson is bringing the Bible to help with the understanding of nations and borders, there's nothing wrong with that. He's just basically saying this is a view that is normal, and it doesn't oppose Christianity, nor does it oppose legal immigration. Now, if they're talking about the way that they believe that immigrants are being treated here, that's a different story. But Mike Johnson bringing that that has nothing to do with this.
Isn't that why the United States was founded? Not making religion the government? Isn't that why they left England? Am I crazy?
It's exactly why they did. And the founders were mainly deists, which is a distinction from Christians. And
it's a distinction, sure. Yeah, I agree. They still believe in the Bible. They still use scripture to establish. They didn't, it wasn't like they separated themselves completely from their religion, their Protestantism from England. They just did not want the king to be ahead of the church and the government, right? They didn't like that. But it didn't separate themselves from it. Not only that, the founders and most colonial Americans did not dispute that borders and nations were given by God. None of them. Again, this is just stupidity at its finest.
A lot of them were not this breed of Christian. These were big thinkers, these men. But we have known for a very long time, since the 80s at least, that there is a desire, a rightward Christian nationalist movement funding the Supreme Court, funding the Republican Party, funding the Heritage Foundation, funding the Federalist Society, that they want to dismantle it. So you have to have people Christian signal in government. And that's what he does. This is not new. We have politicians in Oklahoma that talk ad nauseum about their overt religiosity. The governor of Oklahoma, Kevin Stitt, after he won a second term, got on camera and said, I dedicate every square inch of this state to Jesus Christ. Then he proceeds.
It's funny to me when they always say this, right? What would an atheist do if they were in power? What would a Muslim do? I just want to be able to throw these hypotheticals out, right? You just had Mondani not too long ago say that we need to look to Muhammad to see that he liked mass migrations. Bro, I can read the Quran. Muhammad was not a big fan of foreigners. He was not. And again, let's look at Islam. Islam has foreigners. But the goal of Islam, the followers of Allah, is to submit to Allah, to the will of Allah, which is you have to convert everyone to Islam or not. Right? Or not. And thus, if you read the Quran and you have the understanding of the Quran, it's not always a good thing if you do not submit to Allah, if you do not submit to Islam. So when I throw hypotheticals out there and they're like, it's only the Christians, bro, if an atheist got into power, they would not want to do it. And it's a reason why we have evolution being taught. Why if the evolutionary process is still being taught, even though it's being challenged within the evolutionary community, right? Intelligent designs has picked up. It's a secular worldview. So to say that only Christians do it, secular humanism also tries to use that right by saying religions are trash. We don't need religion. All we need is like the human thought experiment. All we need is humanity. All we need is to teach about what we can see. That in itself, guys, it's a religion. So it's always funny to me when they're trying to just throw it to the Christians, right? Oh, when they're doing it, this is bad. This is really bad. You've been doing it for a long time. Y'all just don't claim a religion, even though y'all show the same, y'all have tenets, y'all have creeds, You have followers. Y'all have the same thing. But y'all just don't want to be like, oh, yeah, secular humanism is religion. Atheism definitely is a religion. It just doesn't have enough people in it. But for her to sit there and for these two idiots to sit there and just be like, oh, it's only the Christians that are trying to grab power. My girls, my women. Secular humanism, atheism, Islam, I don't give a shit. All of them do the same exact thing. The question is, which one provides a better civilization?
To hammer down policies that cause human suffering, exacerbate poverty, and exacerbate the marginalization of groups. If you're not in the oil and gas company in Oklahoma, Kevin Stitt will not favor you. He furthermore takes positions to demonize the native population of Oklahoma. So this is not new. Moses Mike Grinder Johnson doing this is not new. What is new for me is seeing a Catholic church stand up against a pedophile ring. So that's growth. That's growth on a global scale, in my opinion. But Moses Mike Grinder Johnson is every asshole Oklahoma politician I've ever heard talk long before Trump descended on the escalator and the.
See, she's not a big fan of the Catholic Church, but she thinks it's actually interesting that the Pope and all the Catholic Church is actually doing it. Like I said, bro. These women just talk so much crap.
It's not something that's frowned upon in Scripture. In fact, it's welcome. We're to welcome the sojourner and love our neighbor as ourselves. But what's also important in the Bible is that assimilation is expected and anticipated and proper. When someone comes into your country, comes into your nation, they do not.
Here's the thing I just want to jump in to say. I would imagine, considering that he's an alleged heterosexual, that he's assimilated into heterosexual society. This man says he believes that homosexuality is a choice. By admitting that, you're owning that you had to choose something that wasn't natural to you. So this man speaking of
homosexuality is the choice. You choose that lifestyle. We can argue about attraction, but you choose to act upon that. But homosexuality is not the mainstay the normality of humanity. We've never seen that. It's always been heterosexual, male and female, male and female, male and female. That just been the normative. Transgenderism has not been the normative. Homosexuality has not been the normative. Just because you have something in society and it's there doesn't mean that it's a normative thing. Not huge populations throughout the world have practiced homosexuality, have practiced transgenderism. So obviously these are outliers of the normal, right? Of the normal. And Mike Johnson is not wrong. That's what I'm saying. These people do not want to read the Bible. They don't want to read it. Isaiah 50 to 56, Jeremiah, it talks about it. Even in the Old Testament, the Levitical law, even in Deuteronomy, when there's things that the foreigners could not do in Israel. There was things that they could not do. And if they wanted to, they had to be circumcised and they had to be proselytized. Why? Because you were trying to enter into the covenant that God had established with Israel. That was the whole point. There's nothing wrong. They just don't want to hear that. Assimilate. So then what's the point of being American then? What does it mean to be American? American could mean whatever the hell you want. You see that even with the whole Bad Bunny thing, right? They were talking about like, I don't know why people are mad and all this shit. He said it in Spanish. Don Lemons came on and said, "Oh, English is not even the right the language and stuff like that, bro." And then he used the Native Americans, bro. What the hell are you talking about? The Native Americans? They were killing each other off the whole time. They were killing each other, beating the shit out of each other, and they were trying to make sure that they spoke their language, right? Because what happened? Most of the time throughout history, what you see is assimilation. Why? Because a nation cannot survive without assimilation. The Roman Empire got fucked up because they couldn't assimilate all the slaves that they had. Eventually, there were actually less Romans in the empire than there were slaves. And so they became very easy prey. They actually, the Rome, for expanding for so long and just not trying to be, they were Romans by slavery, but they were not Romans, right? The same thing happens when you have people come into a country and they're not assimilating to a certain culture, then you start losing identity. Christians understand the same thing. You have it in the book of John. They were from us, but they were not of us. Understand that. So anytime you have people coming into your family, right, to do or any type of groups, you're trying to assimilate them so that they act a lot like the group. Same thing with the country. For these people, no, you can't assimilate. You can't erase their culture. We're not erasing their culture. We're trying to have their culture be part of our culture, and thus they understand the true meaning of Christianity, of Americanism. Why do you think that when they take a pledge to become to become citizens, they swear allegiance to the country and not the other country that they come from? Assimilation. They think that this is some kind of weird nonsense that, oh no, we're going to steal their identity. They're not going to have their identity. Yeah, they're going to have an identity. It's called an American one.
About assimilation is on point to me because he's had to assimilate into a heterosexual culture. He's had to assimilate into that whole world.
She's an atheist, so she's had to assimilate to a Christian culture, right? Come on, man.
I mean, this Bible thumping from the federal government is more than I can take. I've had to live around hypocritical Bible thumpers my entire life.
So at the end of the day, Jennifer Welch is just pissed off because she's been around retarded Christians or just bad Christians. And then she herself just cannot go and I don't know, maybe she did go try to figure out Christianity and she just sucked at it, right? But let me do this. Let me end on this because they were talking about Matthew 25. And let me show you how much these retards don't really, these people don't really understand their own Bible. Or they don't know, right? So they're like, oh yeah, for I was hungry, they gave me, oh, this is, okay, cool. What did they say before that? So leading up to those verses, right? You tell me. Matthew 25:31. When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, then he will sit on his glorious throne, right? We're talking about Jesus here. All the nations, oh no, all the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate them one from another. Oh no, oh my gosh, oh no, Jesus is separating them. Jesus is separating the nations. For what reason? Oh, we're not supposed to, this is not good. Oh no, why is he separating them? Oh, they're not gonna like this part. Just as the shepherd separates the sheep from the goats, he will put the sheep to his right and the goats to the left. Then the king will say to those on his right, come, you who were blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the earth. And then comes that. Then verse 37 says, then the righteous will answer him, Lord, when did we see you hungry, feed you, or thirst, or give you something to drink? When did we see a stranger and take you in without clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick in prison? And then the king answered, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. Then he will say to those on the left, depart from me, you who are cursed, into eternal fire, prepared for them. For I was hungry and you gave me nothing to eat. Then he answered to them, because they're responding and say, well, we ain't say you do that. I will tell you, whatever you did not do for the least of these, you did not do for me. And go away. They like that verse. Oh, that means that everybody, contextually speaking, though, you see what Jesus is talking about, right? That he is judging Christians. He is judging those who claim to be followers of Christ. And yeah, they're right to a certain degree where, like, if Mike Johnson is saying that, and stuff like, but what they're doing is they're basically saying, oh, deportation is horrible. It's anti-Christian. Deportation is anti-Christian. Having them assimilate to American culture is anti-Christian, right? Having them love this country is anti-Christian, right? Telling them to follow the laws of the country is anti-Christian. These women, people like this, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. They don't read the Bible, just like Don Lemons, just like all these people. They just pick and choose. Then when if somebody were to confront them and say, well, what does that whole package have to do with? Well, it's a 2,000-year-old book, and but you don't mind it when you use it against Christians, and you like it when somebody else, right, another Christian uses it. But when we're trying to give you the contextual, and this is the thing about these people, they don't like the context. They don't want context when it comes to the Bible. They want to be naive and stuff like that. You can get away with this kind of crap with newborn Christians or Christians that don't know. But if they sit down and talk to an actual Christian, right, that knows what they're talking about. Like if Don Lemons would have talked to that pastor, I'm pretty sure that pastor would have ate his dinner about Christianity, about anything like that. But you know, it's Jennifer Walsh again, just hating on Christians, just hating on stuff like that. But what do you think, guys? You think, you know, you think these women are right? You think that Christians are just using the Bible, or we're just Christians are just dumping on these things? Is there anything anti-Christian about deporting people out of the country, about saying that there's nations, that there's boundaries, right? To make people, to have people love a country that they are indwelled in? Is it anti-Christian? I don't think so. But let me know what you think, guys. And let me know what you think about this episode. Hit the like and subscribe button, guys. And I'll catch you on the next episode.